Hello travelers, Boardman21 here, and today LizardIRL and myself are back to do part 4, and this time we're doing the rogue skills. We're gonna rank them, tier them out on the tier list, tell you why we put them there, and of course just talk about them for a little bit so you have some more info about them. So without further ado, let's get started. We've got Flurry.
Well, Flurry, really good utility. Again, it can do pretty nasty things with the. We've seen it in the bow mage, right? You can proc multishot. You can do channel. You can gain. Especially the range one, I think it's way better than the melee one. Even though the melee one can do pretty good like bleed builds and stuff like that. So I'm gonna have to give it an S for sure. It's just like a really good versatile skill. It's one of those skills. It's like Rip Blood, I think. It's like Rip Blood for Acolyte. Like Flurry is like the Rip Blood of Rogue, feels to me. It's just like you can use it for everything you want, and you can never go wrong with Flurry. I really like it.
Yeah, it's great. I'll also go S tier with it. It brings back the nostalgia. The dual dagger class with poison from several other games that I played feels really good with it. The dual Eye of Rain ignite builds with it, with hit damage, and the force wave that you can get, turning it into a mid-range melee skill is great. Just how fast it attacks feels great. And then, of course, the range, proccing multi-shot. Whether you play the bow mage or you play just pure multi-shot, proccing out of it, it's got the screen AoE. It feels really good. Overall, very versatile skill, built many different ways. It's good. Yep, S tier for sure.
Yep.
Shurikens.
Shurikens. Well, as utility, they can be pretty good. They got nerfed pretty hard because you can only get 5 from shift now. Instead of getting 60% armor for free, now you only get 40. Oopsie. That was stupid anyway. And then as damage, I know you can do a lot of damage with them, with the chakrams. I think everything else about them kind of sucks. But if you do the chakram version, I think they can definitely do and they're really fun to play because you can like throw them like shift, and then you can create like different trajectories and stuff, and it feels really satisfying, like double hitting mobs with them and stuff. So I'm gonna give it an A personally. Yeah, I think if you give them if you use them as support, and you use them maybe for a bleed build, they can get to even S, right? Because you can make them like pierce, so they don't expire and blah blah. You can apply it physical threat and so on. They can be okay, but the thing is, like, I'm also looking at this from the perspective of the class. And Rogue is so fucking broke. Everything is so broken that Shurikens are strong, but in the context of the class, I don't think they're that crazy. Maybe I can put it S. I don't know. What do you think?
Well, I went S plus because I know
you
one
went
build.
S plus.
Have you played the poison shurikens? I think that's your next build you should play when you do a rogue character again. You need to do a blade dancer poison shuriken build.
Is it circle around you or?
Yeah, it circles around you.
Okay, let's put it S from the moment, and we can have this conversation again next patch. But okay, run me through this.
I can't believe you haven't played poison shurikens yet.
I mean, I've seen it, but it didn't look that crazy to me compared to shadow daggers, right? So
it's pretty crazy for a dot build. It's pretty insane. I mean, you shift, you automatically have them proc. They're killing things as you run past, and then when you manually cast them, you can do just millions of damage. They just absolutely wipe everything. The biggest problem is you're in melee range. So obviously you're still gonna want your glancing blow. You're still gonna want health on dodge, health on glancing blow, have super high dodge.
Just look at the things we have on S plus, okay?
I wouldn't say that they're quite as high as as the S plus ones, but there's Poison Shurikens is a pretty quick killer, though. It's definitely up there with the other skills of S tier, though. I'd put it above some of these, but it's there.
Okay, let's put it on S then.
And you get the armor at the same time.
Yeah, the armor is nice.
There's some good versions of it, but all right, shift, which we're just gonna go ahead and throw it there with transplant because we already know.
Yeah, sure. S plus, immunity, low second cooldown, the smoke weavers, I mean, that combo's a bit stupid. The fact that you can just equip those weapons that are super easy to get because they're really common, right? If you're playing, I find small weavers every weekend on every tournament on SSF. You can get like full glancing blow with them with the armor conversion, like the Amorithy thingy that he's doing. Absolutely stupid gameplay. You just dash every 1 second and then everything dies. You have, I mean, the points that can give you healing per dexterity that I was using on the bow mage with the dodge per dexterity. I mean, the bow mage has 20k dodge when, again, it's not perma uptime, but still pretty strong. The movement speed is really nice. The burst of movement speed. The execute, if you are playing a melee build, can be also really nice. The jade arrows can be really nice. Creating a shadow and, most importantly, proccing shadow cascade. Absolutely OP. Really broken, right? It is what it is.
Yep. The ability to proc the Shurikens, the Shadow Cascade, Shadows, Shadow Daggers, Acid Flask, Immunity, the crazy amount, 150 dodge rating per point of dex, along with increased dodge. It's ridiculous. The guaranteed haste, mana back, so it's basically free. Which I've never really understood that node too much, because why not just make the skill free? Why waste points in mana back for the same?
Hey, you can play low life rogue, and get 90 mana or whatever it is.
It was more OP when it had all the more damage modifiers in it that are all trying to increase damage.
And they nerf it.
But yeah, overall, just the fact that you can shift so often, be immune the entire time, be immune basically for having 85% dodge for a whole second afterwards. Just pretty ridiculous.
Yep. I don't know what they're thinking. Like, and don't get me wrong, and I think what I was excited about this ability was the high mobility, but somehow they turned it into like a tank ability somehow. Like, I wish you could have like more charges of shift, like in the Rogue trailer, at the cost of losing the perks. So for example, imagine if you had a node where you now have an extra charge of shift, but you no longer can proc Shadow Cascade, right? So if I'm playing Marksman, I can play with a double dash and feel really kitey, like I'm an ADC in League of Legends or something, without the worry of abusing the broken Blade Dancer mechanics. Because that's one of the dangerous things about the Rogue. There's so many abilities that are dual, right? Like things like Flurry, things like Shift, that are designed to fit in the entire class, that you need to be very careful, because one thing that doesn't do anything to one class completely breaks the other one, right? And I think there is ways to do it, so it's like there's more differences between what class you're playing. And again, I would love if I could just build Shift just for mobility on Marksman. While there's Blade Dancer, it should be like an engager, kind of like a longer cooldown, but with more combat utility, right? So I have, especially because it looks so cool on the trailer from what it actually turned, which is just procs Cascade, wait, procs Cascade, wait, procs Cascade, wait, right? Which is a bit lame in my opinion. Really disappointed overall with Blade Dancer in my opinion, because it was supposed to be this like super complex class, and every build is just the same. So we need more skills on it.
Yeah, and I'm sure they'll come. It's newer.
Yeah.
Acid Flask.
Acid Flask? I mean, I don't know what's wrong with that ability. I was trying to use it again for another tourney, and I put on tier 7 exalted throwing attack gear that I have with flat damage. I grabbed all the more multipliers it has and all the crit multi it has on the tree, and I crit the dummy for 1k.
It's not bad.
So yeah, I mean, I think it's okay for utility at the moment, and the poison. If you're doing a poison build, it might be cool. I think it's by far the worst ability on Rogue at the moment. The haste is nice, but I would actually give it a B personally.
Yeah, I put it in B as well. The most amazing thing about it, obviously, the sound. It's spot on.
Yeah,
sounds amazing. Yeah, and then it's a great utility. It applies massive armor shred. It can apply massive poison shred. It can give you a massive amount of poison chance. It can poison the enemies. But for hit damage or anything, converting it to fire and any sort of all that aspect of the trees, it just really underperforms.
It's also really slow to use, even with speed, attack speed. It's hard to aim, right? Because you have to kind of like calculate what it has like a delay, right? You have to kind of like alley-oop, right, into the enemies. For what you get, it's just like, why would you use that when people are just shifting around, one-shotting the entire screen, you know, with Cascade and so yeah.
Yep, Multishot.
I was saying that I was not the biggest fan of Blade Dancer. I am a huge marksman fan. I think they nailed the abilities. I think that they nailed the passives. And Multishot is one of them. You can build this ability however you want. You know, you can build it for poison. You can build it for big one-shots like I've done in the past with the node that takes away the attack speed. You can build it for the pure like screen spam like Diablo 2 style where you just do it almost 0 mana cost. You can go crit, it has a lot of crit chance. You can go the Giant Slayer for the boss killing potential. You go the knock up, the pierce. Again, a really cool skill. It's not the best skill for the marksman, but I would definitely say it's an S tier skill.
Yep, I put it S tier as well. The AoE with it, the fact that you can do single target, having them all attack the same target. I do hate that you can't do both at the same time and you can't respec in battle.
Yeah.
I feel like you should have both options. Like, if you're hitting targets far away, you know, the projectiles
it's
do
multi-shot normal
damage.
and if you get close, it's shotguns. Yeah, that would be really cool. It had this like 2 modes.
It's almost like it should just multi-shot by default.
And
that's just how it should be. It's but
they could
overall,
even they could even use shift to do something like that. We were talking about like imagine if shift could like there would be a like every time you shift like you change the stance of multi-shot, right? That you shift and then you are like full AoE, you shift and then you are shotgunning. Something like that would be cool, I think, especially with a shift with multiple charges, right? That would be pretty. But
that'd be a sweet interaction, yeah. But it's still a great skill. I'd still put it at S tier because it feels really good to use.
Oh boy.
Dark Quiver.
Well, I'm gonna analyze Dark Quiver with Hell of Arrows since it's next to it. Dark Quiver on its own, terrible quality of life. Really clunky to use. I hate that it uses, like for example, you're playing multi-shot with the Flurry. You grab a Dark Arrow, you want to use it with multi-shot, but you use Flurry and you use the arrow. You can stack them. You're kiting, you can't really rely on them. I think they need to make ways where you can stack them and where you only spend the arrows with abilities that cost mana and not generators. Kind of like elemental arrows work in the tree. Tons of utility with the glancing blow, like the healing, like the knockups and stuff. Like it's a pretty solid skill. But then you have the interaction with Hail of Arrows. The interaction with Hail of Arrows, the tank build of Hail of Arrows, where you just get, you get all the like mana nodes on the base rogue tree that gives you damage per mana, and you grab the detonate, like the Hail of the Dark Quiver, more damage per shadow consumed, and you make the shadows with the smoke screen and the shift. This ability just ends up hitting the dummy for 200k with 0 damage on your gear. The playstyle is just you run around, you wait for your cooldowns, you do the combo, and everything dies. Super broken, you can build full tank with it, glancing blow, whatever you want. I think this combination, I'm just gonna treat them as a single build. I think it's S plus. As much as I hate to play it, it's a really good build. Mm-hmm.
Those two together are definitely super powerful. I've watched that build. I've still never actually played a Hell of Arrows build.
I don't blame you.
I don't like it. I've tried using Dark Quiver for several different things. Not a huge fan of it. Every once in a while I throw it into a build just as a utility. I don't know why, but I just hate trying to find arrows and run towards them. I'd rather run where it is that I need to go. I can understand how some people like it. It is, for me, I feel like it's a slower play style, and it works if you like that type of thing. But just because that Hail of Arrows build has pushed 100, I think he got over 400 waves with it.
Oh, he's done 600 now.
Has he done 600 now? Yeah, it's super powerful.
Without decoy. So imagine, yeah.
Yeah, so it's got to go up there. But outside of that build, easily,
it's horrible, yeah.
Yeah, easily both of those for me would fall down to B or C.
Yeah,
or
I agree.
Even worse.
I agree. Outside of that interaction in particular, that's, to be honest, probably gonna get addressed, because it seems, I don't know if they were looking for that. I don't know. It seems like a bit. I don't know how much more damage you get, but you might get like 200% more damage on that combo, like from even more. It's just crazy. Maybe it's like 300. Yeah, aside from that, it's pretty bad. But that build in particular, we have to mention it the same way we mentioned Earthquake with the weapon, right? But yeah.
The Detonating Arrow.
Now, Detonating Arrow was really good, always been good, but now that this Bow Mage build has appeared, it's really good. It's really, really good. The AoE is crazy, the damage is crazy, and I think it's S+. You can play Detonating Arrow, the regular explosion that me and you were playing, right? With the sucker punch, and you stack 2 arrows, and you get the big boom, and you hit the dummy for 100, like 500k, right? And you get the crazy explosion. But now you have this option where you can just spam it with the icicle bow and stuff. And I mean, pushing 400 waves on arena without decoy on a marksman, you have to be S+ if you can do that. So yeah, it's a really good build, really fun, and I wouldn't be surprised if there's some sort of like nerf to the range of the icicles, because the fact that they can go for 2 screens seems a bit too much. So I could see an adjustment to this, but
hopefully they don't do a cooldown where only one can be proc per second or something.
That would just kill it completely. Detonating Arrow would still be good, but yeah.
Yeah, I was going to place it S, but I know that you definitely have way more experience with it, and I've played the Bow Mage a bit, and it is ridiculous, so we will go S+ with that.
For sure.
I have had some people come to me and tell me that the build's too squishy and stuff, but I mean, my playing, it seemed to do just fine in Empowered. I did an Orbis. Like, you obviously can't stand in things, but...
I mean, the build is really squishy, so is... I mean, if you're playing Marksman, if you're playing Mage, and you get hit by the wrong thing at Empowered Monolith, it doesn't matter how much corruption you have. You're running around with 4k EHP if you go to the EHP planner on Tanglabs, right? And again, you gotta understand that something like Earthquake Werber is running around with 100k EHP, like 20 times more, right? So same for Rogue, right? So which can reach up to 200k EHP if you go full defense and dodge and ward and everything. So yeah, those characters are 40 times tankier. But again, those characters are complete... they're gonna be nerfed. That's what I'm trying to say. So yeah, it is squishy, but it's a glass cannon playstyle. If you don't get hit, you're gonna get that reward. And obviously, we're analyzing these builds if they're being geared and played properly. So for sure, there's, for example, something like Skeletons, which is on the same tier. If you're an average player, you don't have too much experience, and you're fairly new to the game, there's builds on S tier, on S+, that are gonna allow you to succeed with easier, basically, for sure. But yeah.
Cinderstrike.
Good for leveling, and after that, I would fall. I feel like it's like the Spirit Plague of Rogue. Really good for leveling, and then it just falls off. I know you can do pretty cool stuff now with the new elemental swords. I've seen people do ignite builds and stuff, attacking really fast, and you can get this dash throw on melee hit, so you can get like ton of 3000 dodge just out of shrouds and full glancing blow and stuff, which seems pretty interesting. But the damage seems pretty low. I don't know. I would say I'm gonna give it an A, honestly.
I went for S for it. I'd be willing to come down to an A, but the Cinderstrike build with the Crystal Swords is actually pretty ridiculous. I mean, you can get that 40% increased attack speed. You get the 400% increased elemental. There's lots of flat fire damage inside of Cinderstrike, so it actually hits pretty decent. I think in Empowered content, you're doing between 3 and 5k crits on mobs. And because you're running dual swords, you get the glancing blow, you get the increased dodge rating, super tanky. Because of that attack speed, you can keep Cinderstrike as a free skill. You don't have to put the mana for the third strike to happen over and over again. So you're constantly getting that AoE because you're attacking so fast. And so huge AoE, it was pretty good.
I can see it. But for example, if I have to compare it to something like Fireball or Harvest, yeah, even between the S's, there's still like big differences. It definitely would be a very low S if you compare it, in my opinion.
I'll move it down to A just because I haven't pushed it in Arena, and I don't know of anyone who has to prove that it can go higher. But I definitely feel
I can try, but
I would say you should try a Crystal Sword version of it. I feel like 300 waves would be doable with that build.
Yeah. Okay.
Puncture.
Well, I'm in the same boat. Really, really, really good leveling. Then it just falls off like crazy. And it's a shame because it has really interesting notes. The conversions, the shadows, the shred, the bleed explosion thingy, crimson stacking, all that. It just falls off. Really, one of the best skills for leveling, once again. Again, dots really, really strong, but they fall off. We know there might be a unique coming that might change this next patch. That's been like, there's rumors that might really help dot builds, but as of today, I'm gonna say A.
I gave Puncture a B. The only reason I gave it a B was because I've been unable to do an endgame version build that I like with Puncture. No matter how I've tried it, I am always unhappy with how it ends up. Whether there's some decent bleed versions of it, but they still feel, I mean, they're not powerful enough to feel good. And there's just something about Puncture and the way it works. It just, for me, it feels just not endgame worthy.
Yeah, I mean, you have the shred, right, which is what Flurry doesn't have, right? If you want to use it for a generator also. But it just feels a bit slower, right? I mean, you get the frenzy, which is kind of nice, right? But I don't know. I think you could definitely make something okay with it. And I think it could be B. It could be B. But it's just so good leveling too that I don't know.
Yeah, I think for leveling it would be much higher, but I just can't put it with Spirit Plague or Shatter Strike. Like it just.
Okay, I'm down. Just put it B. Okay.
And then the other aspect of it, I'm just mad that they nerfed the Shadow Dagger effect with it, because for a time their Puncture felt good for 2 days.
Yeah, but I don't like what they did with Shadow Daggers anyway. I think the fact that you could stack to get like faster procs was actually pretty cool, and it's nice having those things. The problem, in my opinion, of Shadow Daggers has always been the guaranteed crit, which is just a stupid mechanic, and everything that has guaranteed crit with no downside, Dread Shade, Shadow Daggers, it's just stupid. Something like, for example, Rife is okay because there's the downside of needing the third strike, right?
And now
now they do even more damage than before, so it's like, I don't really know.
Well, it's crazy that they gave it a 100% more damage modifier and got rid of the reduced stacks or the ability to do it in one hit.
Yeah.
But so now you have no reason to build Shadow Dagger effect, because if you want to do it, it's going to take 4 hits no matter what, and it's going to do great damage. There's no need for the effect, so you just build something else.
Well, the effect is multiplicative damage, which is still pretty bonkers, but you don't need it on your chest piece anymore, which means you can run Wings of Argentus and just run the idols with Shadow Dagger's effect, which is more than enough damage. And guess what? You get twice as tanky, because I don't even know. I think the power creep on the Rogue right now, especially on this build, is so out of touch that I don't know if the devs haven't seen it, if I have to stream it so they see it, or if someone else has to push it to 1,000 waves so they nerf it, or I don't know. I mean, I know they're aware of it, but I think the nerf of this patch was a bit of was it even a nerf at this point? Because overall, I think it was more, and it's more annoying to play, right? Because you need more hits to proc it, and it makes the build slower and more clunky. But in terms of damage and potential, it's not that different, honestly.
Yeah.
So yeah.
All right, Smoke Bomb.
I love Smoke Bomb. Has to be an S for me. Really good utility skill. I love the backflip. I know a lot of people don't like it. Again, it proc Shadow Daggers too. Stupid. Slow chance, crit chance, leech, guaranteed smoke shroud, slows enemies, armor shred, glancing blow, big area, anything, crimson shrouds. anything you want, you have it really. Healing, I really like it, and it looks really cool. Honestly, I really like the. Reminds me of Akali of League of Legends. Really cool ability. I like it, and I like that the downtime on this ability feels like good, because it's one ability that you want to have up, but when you have it down, you can still do things with your character, and you have to be strategic about it, but you're not like completely unable as a character if you don't have it. So I really like smoke screen.
Yeah, smoke bomb is it's very effective. And you can it's good for both melee and for throwing and ranged bow. So like the bow base critical strike chance you can get with it, all the shrouds like you stated, the glancing blow, the dodge, all of that being able to stack. The leech you can get out of it, the shreds that you can do. You can even build into some ailments while you're in it. The shadow dagger was obviously super powerful back when it was possible in a single hit.
One hit.
But it's a very powerful skill. I'd also put it in S tier.
Shadow creation.
Shadow creations is huge for it, especially since you can get a lot of mana back with that. It's pretty crazy. Yep, S tier. And we got decoy.
Well, decoy is taunt.
Yeah, so that's
and you can basically have perma uptime too, pretty much. I mean, it has to be SS too, right? I feel like. You can basically be someone who's never played the game. You put this bad boy on, and not to mention the leveling, where you can just give it Gambler's Fallacy and run around one-shotting the entire campaign. I think it's. I mean, we know Taunt is getting touch, so this is not gonna stay this strong. And I think one of the strongest things about this is the fact that you can use it to its full strength without speccing it. Because you can have Shadow Cascade proc on your shift. You don't put it on your bar. You don't put Shurikens on your bar, you proc them with shift, whatever. And then you put the decoy unspec'd, right? You can do the same with the bow mage, right? Just put the decoy there and you're proccing multishot off your bar. And suddenly you have a taunt with 0 investment that will literally make you a god for like whatever its duration is, right? Too strong in my opinion. Taunt, it's something. We will see what they do. But SS for sure.
Yeah, it's SS just because we know that it's going to change. But yeah, it's even unspecialized, just OP. The ability to pull everything away from you, not take any damage, have anything coming after you. Yeah, it's a little ridiculous. All right, ballistas.
Okay, so I know Bina says ballistas are super nerfed because Bina's whole was playing a lot of ballistas, and well, he thinks they're very weak because he didn't push 1000k waves like he does with Earthquake, right? But I think just because they're a bit slower now on Monolith and they don't feel as good, they are still really good in Arena. They do need gear, but like everything else that is on top, it's gonna need gear. And I think they're probably still S+, honestly. Like, they do so much damage. They're so easy to play. You can just sit in a corner, and all the new maps that don't have ramps, it's a huge buff for the skill because they actually hit all the time. I've seen like Foe showed me a clip of his ballistas critting enemies on Arena for 24k, right? So yeah, and with the plus kills and stuff, like I think you can get this. Yeah, so they're pretty crazy. I think for me it's S+ at least.
I hate that they killed off the one version of ballistas that I enjoyed, but they do still do incredible damage, especially once you build into them. They're just absolutely crazy.
Stacking on them is crazy.
Yeah, spamming them throughout echoes isn't too bad. You just have to basically every time one runs off your screen, you're already casting another one. So it feels, it's kind of like Avalanche. If it had a 3-second cooldown, you had to keep, stopping for it. But overall, yeah, S+ is fine with me. I miss being able to play it as a Blade Dancer, where you would, shift and have all your mana come back and then spam 3 more of them.
That's what Bina was doing, yeah.
I hate that that's gone, because that was actually a really fun way to play it, because you were doing something all the time. I hate playing it as a marksman. I hate having to wear a bow with the ballistas, because you can't get the glancing blow with the swords or anything else.
Yeah.
But it's still a good build.
Yeah. Just because it's a bit clunky to play, just like Halo of Arrows, it doesn't mean it's not good, right? I think still good. I think you can still push with it. And not only that, I think you can push with it easily, right? Especially if you combine it with decoy, you basically don't need to do much, right?
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Shadow Cascade and Synchronized Strike. Should we just put these together?
Yeah. SS once again. I mean, it's all you need to. Like again, I feel really bad for new players that's their first build they play, because they're gonna be so disappointed when they play anything else. It's power creep to the moon. It's been nerfed many times, but they still haven't nerfed the most important stuff, right? So, which is the fact that you don't need to cast to use any generator in order to use them properly, and you can just basically play as range, because Shadow Cascade basically turns into a range skill for the Shadow Daggers, and you have the tankiness of a melee character while doing the damage of a glass cannon, while having the gameplay of a mobile game of pressing one key. It's like there's a legit no-brainer. Again, this class for me should have been like the epitome of mechanics and complicated gameplay, and it somehow turned into the most simple it could. And I hope they do flare it a bit, hopefully.
Yeah, Shadow Cascade and Synchronized Strike together, especially with Shift, they're ridiculous. Whether you use Smoke Weavers or not, it's a pretty powerful. Whether you use Shadow Daggers or not, it's
even if that's what I was gonna say. Even if we don't go Shadow Daggers and you go regular, like those bad boys with the damage with the idols that give you damage per shadow and things like that, like those are hitting for 20k in arena per blade, right? Per shadow. Absolutely bonkers. I don't even know what they're thinking. It's so broken. And again, they could nerf this. A lot of people think, oh, why you guys want to nerf my build? I'm having so much fun. If your daggers are not doing 20k damage on 300 arenas, don't worry. The nerfs we're talking about, they won't affect you. You're still gonna have fun with your build, and you're still gonna stomp mono. But it's not gonna. They could nerf this damage, the damage of these builds by 90%, and you wouldn't even notice, because the mobs you're fighting, you're critting them for 10k and they have 1k life. Don't worry, you'll be fine if they nerf the build by 50%. You'll still one-shot everything. Don't worry. Yeah.
Lethal Strike or Lethal Mirage, whichever one it's called. Lethal Mirage.
I know you had a spicy build with this one, but I think it kind of died, right? Because they hotfix it.
It was great. It was lethal, and then it got nerfed, and then we made it
and
lethal
now it's a
again.
Mirage.
Yeah. Then they nerfed it again. Now it's just a Mirage. It's just there.
Yeah.
You can still do really good damage with it. I mean, it's a single target killer. But it's been reduced down to the point where you could do the same damage, if not more, with Shadow Cascade or Synchronized Strike. There's just no point in doing it. For me now, I mean, I don't even really like to use it in builds. It's super mana expensive. It breaks the cycle with Synchronized Strike and Shadow Cascade.
Why would you use it when you could just Shadow Dagger again, right?
Yeah, and some people still like to use it just for a single target. It does really great damage. It looks cool when it goes off. It can kill rares in one hit still, kind of almost at any level. But bosses, you might as well just stay in the cycle for survivability with Shadow Cascade. For me, it's A tier at this point.
And the immunity is cool. The fantasy is cool. I think what it needs, to be honest, is some skill that's like, imagine if you could use Dancing Strikes with it, right? But for every hit with Dancing Strike, you took off the cooldown of Lethal Mirage for 1 second. Which is kind of like, I don't know if you know this, but basically this ability is Master Yi's Q from League of Legends. And basically that character has that ability. And when he auto-attacks enemies, he takes down the cooldown for 1 second. So basically the idea is that you use this ability, which was like a 10-second cooldown, and then you auto-attack. And then when you auto-attack and you can do it again. And not only that, but it resets on kill. So every time you get a kill, you get to cast it again. So you can like bounce from enemy to enemy, and it creates like this really ninja moment that is really cool. Like, I think something like that for Mirage would be really cool. Like if you kill a rare enemy, Mirage resets its cooldown. This can only occur every 5 seconds, right? Something like that. Just so at least you could have those moments where you go from one rare to another, and it really feels like it was worth it. But But I mean, it's a really cool looking ability. It's just like, again, why would you use it and use the mana when you can just shift for free?
Yeah, I think they killed the damage just a little too much. I mean, I'm not saying it does bad damage. You can do 11 or 12, 20 to 30k crits on an enemy, which is pretty ridiculous. But it used to do 1.5 million damage hits.
Yeah, but again, all the abilities in S tier can do that damage with 0 mana cost.
Yeah, so it's something I wish they'd bring back, like the more modifier back into Dancing Strikes, where for every time you dance, it will do more damage. They changed a lot of those to increased, and it just, I mean, the original build where there was an unlimited amount of stacks of bleed that you could put on an enemy and get 10% more damage per stack. That was broken. But after that was gone, it didn't really deserve another nerf. I made that build where you could still one-shot bosses, but that was based on the fact that you had to use Dancing Strikes. You had to you had to do a very
20 minutes.
a sequential strike. And
it's funny that they nerfed these very particular builds that, to be honest, aside from the bosses, which are just basically standing dummies at that point where you're so tanky that you can just tank them, right? It's funny that they spend time like balancing these very niche things where the overall like class is absolutely broken, right? But it's a beta, they need to work on it, and
I think the biggest I think the biggest thing there was the fact that these bosses are supposed to be hard. They're supposed to be the niche things about Last Epoch. Like, you go into a boss fight, you have to learn the mechanics. And then there was these builds showing that you could one-shot them. And they were like, we can't have that. And so even without, like, it didn't take much time to just say, let's just nerf it. But I think...
But it's not like Shadow Daggers can still do that. You just don't see it, right? Because... I don't know.
Most people don't do bosses anymore. You just fight Oribus, or you do Empowered. And Empowered, you can't one-shot. But against normal bosses, Shadow Dagger still hits like a truck.
Yeah.
All right, our last one, Dancing Strikes.
Really cool ability. If you don't play it with Dancing Strikes, with Shadow Daggers, so I don't think it does that much. Has a lot of cool things going for it. The fact that it scales the attack speed with cooldown reduction, the locking animation, it feels like you're playing Ribbon or something, like a fighting game. I really like the arena node. All of that is really cool. But sadly, it just doesn't do damage if you're not doing Shadow Daggers, right? And Shadow Daggers is just, I think it's a mechanic that needs to get revisited anyway. It's a bit stupid that an ability that doesn't even have a skill tree is the best ability in the game, somehow. But I do think it's cool. I do think you get the damage reduction while moving, the damage reduction on Arena. You can use Wings of Argentus. You can get haste for free on it too, so you don't even need wings. I would say it's probably... I would give it an A, honestly. It's a counter ability. It's a very unique playstyle. I do think it's kind of like counteractive. I don't know how to say it. It's like negative sometimes.
Counterintuitive.
Yeah, like for example, in this game, you want to be moving, but you also want to have control. You're moving right, and then you see a projectile coming, and you gotta go left. I think the fact that this ability kind of like locks you in the animation makes it so sometimes you press the button, and when you realize you need to react, it's too late because you're locked into the animation and you're fucked. Especially with that the big AoEs from a golem or a chimera or a dead screech, all of the turtles, all of these things, and you just watch you dancing into your death, right? So it is really cool, but I think it's really niche at the moment. But it's cool. A for me.
Yeah, I put it in A as well. It can be super, super tanky. If not, I want to put it as like the tankiest. If you build into just being tanky with it, the amount of damage reduction that you get while in the arena, while you have Wings of Argentus, the damage reduction while moving from the passive tree, the fact you can get the 100% glancing blow. You can proc Shurikens, which can give you increased armor. You can get dodge with it. And not just, I mean, you can get 85% dodge easily with it, because inside of its tree you can get the rhythm stacks, which can give you up to 30% dodge each. You can have 10 stacks, so you can have 300% increased dodge, along with you can get like up to 200, or it's 75 per point. I think you can get 150 flat dodge rating for every time you've danced in the last 4. I mean, you can get massive dodge, you can get your armor, glancing blow.
You're hitting enemies for 100 damage if you're not.
But you're hitting enemies very slow, and it's why I hate the fact that they killed off that for every time you've danced, that lethal Mirage would do more damage, because it was a great combo, being able to dance, be tanky, and then do a
You're
lethal
tanky,
Mirage.
and then you go for the immunity hit. Yeah, that's cool.
And then you go back. I hope that I tried putting it together a while back in this patch, and it just wasn't enough. It does work. It's viable, but yeah, it's A tier for me. It's nothing special at this point.
Cool.
That's it for part 4. All of the rogue skills. Hope you guys enjoyed it.